My mother-in-law suddenly entered my room while I attended a remote meeting. I shouted, "No. Stop it. Help me." The next moment, my mill set fire to my important place. It was all seen in a remote meeting, and my colleagues each yelled, "Call the police." She finally realized it. What? Ouch, stop it. Somebody help. Mary suddenly burst into my room while I was in the middle of a remote meeting. The bad feeling I had was spot on. Through the screen of the meeting that Jack was also attending, I saw Mary pin me down and reach for something. A cold sweat ran down my entire body. "Please stop," I pleaded with my eyes, but Mary ignored my will. I tried desperately to stop her, but in the struggle, I was pushed away, fell, and hit my head hard. The next moment, the lighter in Mary's hand set fire. Suddenly, a voice shouted from the computer, "Call the police." What? Mary froze, lifting her head in shock. She didn't realize it. She wasn't aware that her reckless actions were being broadcast live. My name is Emily, and it's been 2 years since I got married. I met my husband, Jack, at work. He's in sales, and I'm in tech. After the pandemic spread, our department quickly transitioned to remote work, and these days, I only go into the office a few times a month. However, since the office is close to our apartment, we can come to work anytime. As for Jack, being in sales, he continues to go to the office as usual. Considering his job, it's only natural. Jack's mom, Mary, lives nearby, so she frequently comes to our place. Ever since his dad passed away 2 years ago, she's been dropping by unannounced and complaining to me, which is really bothersome. Even though I barely interact with her, she still goes out of her way to come over and complain, and I always wish she wouldn't. At first, Mary's visits were about once a week, but lately, it's increased to 2 or 3 times a week. She even shows up while I'm working, barging into the room. Then, she stands behind me and keeps making snide remarks. "Is this really how you work? You need to be more serious about it." I try to block out Mary's voice by playing loud music while continuing my work, but it ends up distracting me, slowing down my work pace. "Could you please talk to her, Jack? Ask her to be a little quieter." One night after Jack came home, I tried to appeal to him, but he just gave a light laugh and responded, "Don't worry about it so much. Mom doesn't mean any harm. She's just concerned." Hearing his words, I felt a heaviness in my chest. If Mary is really concerned, why does she speak in such a way that undermines my work? And why doesn't Jack understand how I feel? But it's hard to hear the same thing every time. I'm doing my best. Even when I said that, Jack didn't seem to take me seriously. Mom's been tough on me since I was little. It's just the same now, but it's because she cares about us. Listening to him, I felt that something wasn't right. The fact that Mary was strict with him growing up doesn't justify her snide remarks and criticism toward me. Even if I said that, I'm sure Jack wouldn't understand. Every time Mary visits, she transforms into the doting mother who pampers her beloved son. The same person who throws harsh words at me with a face like a monster becomes a completely different person in front of Jack. "Jack, you must have had a tough day at work today, right?" She speaks in an unbelievably sweet voice, smiling warmly as if she doesn't even notice my presence. "I can do my best because Mom is with me," Jack responds as if it's the most natural thing, like a child seeking comfort from his mother. What is this scene? This can't be real. Each time, I find myself internally cringing. I struggle to understand why her attitude changes so drastically. Watching the two of them in their own world, I feel completely left out. No, rather, I realize I don't even want to belong in that world. Even after Mary leaves, her overly sweet voice lingers in my mind, filling me with a sense of discomfort. Why am I the only one who has to deal with this? I can't help but sigh. The fact that Jack remains oblivious only deepens my frustration. As Mary's behavior escalates day by day, I feel an increasing urgency to do something about this situation. However, Jack still seems unaware of Mary's actions, and it feels as though he dismisses my distress. As a result, every time Mary visits, the weight in my heart grows heavier. Hearing the sound of her footsteps entering the room alone makes me feel a tightening in my chest. Why am I the only one who has to suffer like this? I might just break down soon. I finally started to feel a sense of fear one evening when Mary visited us as usual. I felt I had reached my limit the moment she started complaining about my work again. I stood up and faced her directly. "Mary, I'm sorry, but could you please refrain from visiting during my work hours from now on? If I can't focus on my work, it might cause problems for my company." I said it as calmly as I could, but I was boiling with anger. Mary looked a bit surprised at first, but then she quickly smiled, raising the corners of her mouth. "You're right, work is important. I understand. I'll be more careful from now on. Thank you." I was taken aback by her unexpected response, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't really understand. There was something about her smile that felt like she was hiding something. Even after that, Mary's visits continued, and the snide remarks didn't stop. The more this went on, the stronger my determination became to do something about the situation. But despite my efforts, I was growing more exhausted by the day, unable to find a solution. Eventually, I started thinking that it would be difficult to resolve this problem on my own. Unless Jack stood by my side, I doubted the situation with Mary would ever improve. However, I had no idea when he might come to his senses. Mary's harassment escalated day by day. What started as simple complaints gradually turned into her entering my workspace, our bedroom, without permission, touching furniture and books without any regard. Honestly, it's extremely stressful, but I tell myself that I have no choice but to endure it. One day, Mary came into my room again, as usual. She looked around, making snide comments, but suddenly her eyes locked onto a locked cabinet. "Hey, what's in there?" "Nothing. It's just where I keep my work materials." "If it's just work materials, then why is it locked? Tell me." Mary raised her voice, trying to force open the cabinet. I hurriedly tried to stop her. "Mary, there are important things in there. Please don't touch it. If it's really important, then you should show me. Are you hiding something? You wouldn't block it unless you had something to hide, right?" Ignoring my words, she continued trying to open the cabinet. "Come on, you're being persistent. It has nothing to do with you, Mary." I pleaded desperately. Mary stared at the cabinet for a moment before finally backing off, but she continued to show an obsessive interest in it. However, it didn't stop there. Mary's harassment escalated to throwing things and, at times, even acting as if she was going to hit me. "What are you doing, Mary? Stop it." I told her repeatedly, but her erratic behavior continued. She suddenly grabbed my shoulder and shook me hard. "Why won't you listen to me more? What are you talking about? I'm not a child, and I haven't done anything wrong. Do you really think that excuse is going to work?" It would have been easy to shake off her hand, but I was worried that if I did, she might exaggerate and accuse me later. Feeling trapped, I found myself getting closer and closer to my breaking point. The worst happened one day. I was attending a remote meeting as usual, with Jack also joining from the other side of the screen. Suddenly, Mary entered my room. Feeling a sense of dread, I glanced at her, but she headed straight for the cabinet. "This can't be happening. Mary, stop." I desperately pleaded with my eyes, but there was no way she would understand. Something was off with her that day. There was a madness in her eyes. "Jack, help me," I shouted toward Jack. At that moment, Jack, sensing the urgency in my voice, spoke with a tense tone. "Hey, are you okay? What's going on?" "Jack, Mary is." I tried to explain the situation, but just as I was about to, Mary pulled out a lighter and a bottle of oil from her pocket. "No. Stop it." I felt my whole body tremble with fear. Jack's voice echoed again from the screen. "Hey, what is she doing? Stop her now." But Mary didn't react to Jack's voice. No, she probably didn't hear him at all. Without any reaction to his voice, she opened the oil can and poured it over the cabinet. At that moment, I lost myself in fear and anger.